Before me stood a white canvas, so pretty, so simple, so elegant. How could I ever have the heart to stain something that's already so beautiful? What if I mess up? What if I made the wrong stroke? Sir Ken Robinson once said, "We stigmatize mistakes. We're now running education systems where mistakes are the worst thing you can make. We are so in love with the idea of success that we often lose our capacities to create." According to a report by the Mental Health Foundation, 6 out of 10 young people said that they've become stressed because of a fear of making mistakes. Reality is, nearly every successful person we know is only so because of what they learned from failure. Walt Disney was once fired from his job because he allegedly lacked imagination. The same man we today know as the creator of imagination, the same man who literally put color onto the canvas, too, faced failure. Yes, fear of failure is daunting, and we've all been there. I mean, we all suck at something, right? However, as I stand before this white canvas called life, I realize that without color, this is all it'll ever be, a white canvas. Color represents risk, but it also represents opportunity, creativity. It stands for a chance to invent. Therefore, I believe, rather than stigmatizing failure, we should celebrate it. Rather than stereotyping failure as the end, we should see it as a milestone on our lifelong journey towards success. It is only then that we can truly flourish. Thank you.
Thank you, contestant. This is the topic for your impromptu speech. The question number is 5. So you may have experienced being labeled or nicknamed by others for some reasons. Have your friends given you a nickname, and how do you feel about it? And what does it mean to give someone a nickname?
Have you ever looked at some model on social media and sighed because you don't look like them? Well, don't worry, we all have. For example, we see the Kardashians online and we think we're not pretty enough because we don't look like them. However, what we don't know is that celebrities go through painful experiences just to look the way they do. I vividly remember my friend being called names like ugly and fat just because of those standards. And even though nicknames are generally harmless, that wasn't the case. Her self-esteem went down, her focus went down, her grades went down, and everything else tumbled down after that. The sad thing is that so many people across the world face problems just because of these beauty standards. And the only way we can solve this issue is to erase these standards. We have to understand that everyone looks beautiful in their own body. We have to embrace ourselves, including our outward beauty, to finally be confident in ourselves. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We are going to move to the Q&A session.
Thank you for your speeches. You spoke about fear of failure. So have you ever failed, and what did you learn from the experience?
Well, I remember very clearly when I was 9, I went to an audition for a musical called Beauty and the Beast. And at that time, it was my first audition ever for a musical, so I was really nervous. And even though I prepared a lot and I memorized my monologue and everything, when I went inside the room, it was really intimidating. So when the director asked whether I prepared a speech or not, I just said no. In the end, when I went home, I just told my parents, and they gave me 2 options. I can either go back and ask for a second chance, or just waste this opportunity. And in the end, I went back, and even though I didn't get the role I wanted, I knew that this was the right choice, and it opened my eyes to musicals and drama, and it actually became one of my favorite hobbies.
Thank you.
Thank you for the speech about nicknames. Can you think of some situations where giving nicknames might be good?
Of course, like for myself, I have nicknames like Candy Cane and Candy Mandy Wandy Cane, and those are all nicknames that my friends call me. And these nicknames, I think they're really harmless and they're actually good for you because you can come up with your own variations of your name that actually truly represent yourself. Thank you.
I believe in goodness. I believe that everyone is basically good at heart. In some people, it's very easy to recognize, but in others, it's firmly locked away in the closet. So what led me to this assumption? I think it was reading The Diary of Anne Frank, locked away in that Amsterdam attic, a Jewish girl avoiding the Nazis during World War II. Despite the trauma, Anne never gave up thinking of the goodness of those around her. First, let me define goodness of heart. Fundamentally, it is selflessness. People who always put others before themselves and expect nothing in return. It's easy to recognize integrity, truth, decency radiating from their eyes and body language. In others, it's not nearly so easy to detect, but I'm convinced it's there, struggling to get out. Somewhere along the line it got suppressed, stifled, or rejected, leading to negative antisocial behavior and personality problems, usually resulting in unhappiness. By reaching out with friendship, acceptance, and goodness of heart, I believe every one of us could make a difference, and by example, enable those less fortunate to see the happiness that goodness of heart can bring. When everything around her was falling apart, and there seemed to be nothing but war and wickedness in the world, Anne Frank said, and certainly convinced me, I still believe, in spite of everything, that people really are good at heart.
Thank you. This is the topic for your impromptu speech. So the question number is 12. The average Chinese reads 10 e-books and 7.5 paper books a year. People are also increasingly open to paying for good content, with 63.8% of those who use a digital device saying they are willing to pay for quality content. Do you like reading? What kind of books do you like? E-books or paper books, and why?
Do you like reading books? I love reading books. When I was younger, or should I say when my schedule was less hectic, I could read up to 2 books per day. I love reading murder mystery novels, for example, Murder on the Orient Express, One of Us is Lying, to name a few. Any science-related books? Nope, no offense, but not for me. Why would anyone want to read paper books when there's the existence of e-books? Let me tell you, e-books are way more convenient. It practically spends half the time clutched in your hot, sweaty palms on that little device called a smartphone. The paper from paper books could then be relegated to cat litter boxes, eating fish and chips on a cold winter afternoon.
Thank you. So let's move on to the Q&A session.
Thank you for your speech about goodness and Anne Frank. So, Anne Frank was quite an interesting character. What do you know about her? What do you think made Anne Frank good at heart?
Well, it was during the Second World War, and everyone around her was just brutally killing each other. And she was the kind of person who was just very innocent and docile in her heart. And she and her family had to flee to Amsterdam because people were killing Jewish people. And in that Amsterdam attic, she and Peter, who's her best friend and also a person who she's romantically involved with, becomes really close, and they talk about each other. And then they reflect that the society is actually so brutal, and it's it's not what children think it is. It's way more mean and it's evil, but there are still people that exist. There are still people that have that kind of goodness in their heart. She still believes that peace, tranquility, and hope can be restored.
Thank you.
Thank you for your speeches.
Thank you.
So, Hong Kong people, not many of them like reading. What would you do to promote reading in society?
Well, there are book fairs, and I think major reason why Hong Kong people don't really like reading is because they have such a busy schedule. They don't even have time to spare for reading. I think, in schools, some of the feasible ways are that they can provide, for example, half an hour to an hour of school time to let the students read and, to relax and to really take time to find the interest in reading. Thank you.
Who here likes cooking or likes eating? I strongly believe in the importance of learning to cook. Ironically, I was never a great eater since I was small. It was like a chore. My mom didn't know how to cook, so I was used to eating fast foods and takeout. Fascinated by Junior MasterChef, I thought that cooking was serious business and had to be intricate. However, as I grew older, I couldn't help but notice that many people around me, my age, could independently whip up delicious meals themselves. As well, a lot of celebrities like Taylor Swift, sports stars like Lionel Messi, all love cooking. After my mom took cooking classes and thereafter made decent meals, it started to matter to me what was for dinner. I even started helping out and learning from her. It made a difference in our lives. Cooking allows you to create healthy meals that taste great and cost less. You end up eating healthier without even trying. And interestingly, after learning to cook, your eating habits and food choices actually change to healthier, cost-efficient options. So it's perfect for those of you who want to watch those calories. As well on health, did you know that cooking is the recipe for a healthy mind? Culinary therapy is actually used to tackle depression, anxiety, and other mental health issues. Therapists confirm that cooking relieves stress and instills mindfulness. There is a tremendous amount of confidence and self-esteem boosting involved in preparing a meal. Another wonderful thing about cooking is it brings people together, whether cooking or eating together. It creates communities. Family bonds are strengthened and social skills are boosted. All this has reinforced my conviction that learning to cook is vital. Great health and relationships start in the kitchen. Come on, learn to cook. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, contestant. This is the topic for your impromptu speech. The question number is 11. And the General Office of the State Council has adopted a plan to help the elderly adapt to life with smart technologies. What kind of difficulties do you think the elderly face in a digital world? And how do you think we can help them deal with these difficulties?
Smart technologies have been ingrained into our daily life. However, some people have still not fully adapted to our new norms. One such group of people are elders. Elders are used to having to use pen and paper, to use the landline to call people, etc. They have not fully realized the wonders of our modern society and our modern technology yet. They are not used to having to use the bright touch screens of smartphones. To them, that's like alien technology. So how can we help them? Well, we can try setting up some on-site classes to help them understand the basic services of a smartphone, such as phone calls and using the internet. As well, we can set up a hotline for them to request assistance whenever they need it. So elders are still a part of our society. We need to help them and welcome them to our new society. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's move to the Q&A session.
Thank you for your speech about cooking. Have you ever cooked a dish, and what was your experience like?
I have cooked a dish before, and the most memorable dish I've ever cooked is guacamole. Guacamole is a Mexican dish, and I first had this in a restaurant, and I really liked it. And then back in 6th grade, I had a cooking competition at school, and I chose to cook that dish, guacamole. It's a very simple dish, and I really enjoyed cooking it. There were lots of different flavors and ingredients put into it. In the end, my dish won first place, so that dish was really memorable and really inspired me to continue trying new recipes and cooking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your speech about elderly people using technology. I think elderly people do have problems. Do you think there might be any special way to help the elderly who often forget things? They have trouble following a sequence. How can we help them use technology if they have trouble remembering options, for example?
We can help them by setting up some books with some sequences that they can follow to some basic services, like I mentioned in my speech, like turning on a phone, setting up maybe a password, using the internet. If they do forget these, they can just refer back to that book. And as I said in my speech as well, they can also call the hotline in order to request assistance on how to continue on. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I start my speech, I would like to ask you a question. Do you think you are ordinary or extraordinary? The reason of asking you this question is because a little girl was once asked the same question. And at that time, she thought she had no reputation, no glorious achievements, or no special talents. So she considered herself as ordinary. And that little girl was who I was before. And I believe some of you are having similar mindset with her. But don't jump to the conclusion. Let me tell you my story. The whole story started in one night when I had a dream. A fairy came to my dream and took me to a dark and smelly place. Guess what? We were in the sewers. What would you feel if you were deep inside a sewer filled with sludge and excrement? Hopeless, terrified, or disgusted? If you add up all the negative feeling you can think about, and that might be how I feel. And so I was dedicated to escape when I suddenly saw a man being pulled down by a rope. And I wondered who that guy was. And the next morning, I checked online that he was a sewer worker who unclogged pipes under high risk just to promote clean and unobstructed piping networks. From the bottom of my heart, I deemed those people as unsung heroes. And in the next dream, the fairy came again. But this time, I was on a huge stage. I could feel butterflies in my stomach and in my brain. There were so many eyes staring at me like tiger ready to pounce a rabbit. And when suddenly the sound of the fairy came to my ears, and she said, "Hey, pretty girl, just tell them the bedtime story you enjoy." Do you think I did it? Yes, I finally summoned the courage to speak to public, and my speech ended with thunderous applause. And from then I know I could be the outstanding one. And then the fairy took me to various places to widen my horizon. But when we get to this point of the story, you may ask, how could there have been a fairy? How could you have been in the sewers? You're right. I didn't practically meet a fairy or stay in the sewers. But all the books I've read, all the news I've heard, together with family and friends who love me so much, all let me know that I am special. And that's why today I'm standing here, giving you a speech, telling you that you can be the unique one. And every time when we think we're ordinary, we just need to change our mind, because all the experience, no matter failures or cringes or achievements, give us our unique memories. We learn something there and we get something away. So that's why we don't need to be afraid of losing, because every experience makes us unique. So if anyone asks you the similar question again, I hope I can hear, I'm not ordinary, but extraordinary. Thank you.
Thank you. So here's the topic for your impromptu speech. It's number 10. From February the 16th until April 11th, Nico Stanzos, a Greek photographer, acted as an online tour guide for China, including Beijing and its outskirts, as well as the ancient capitals and the country's border areas. Stanzos gave 5 presentations to his compatriots in Greece free of charge. So how could online touring change the way people travel? And do you think it would help people better understand Chinese culture?
Want to ask you if you have been into Beijing or any other Asian capitals of other countries, and some of them might have been to those areas, but some of them might not due to the pandemic. So here's an alternative choice for you. You can choose to have a tour online. And so this, because of the advanced technology, lots more people choose to have a tour online. So what's the online tour? Online tour is a tour when some photographers, some YouTubers, they went to different places and they take some gorgeous photos and post them online. So you can watch the videos free of charge anywhere, anytime. So when compared to what we used to think of traveling, we need to book flights, we need to book some hotels, we also need to choose some travel agencies, and it can be time consuming. But now, when it becomes a more convenient choice and when people have another choice to travel, more people tend to stay at home, enjoying the air conditioning, and eat some popcorns, and so it's like what we did in cinemas. But however, when we look deeper into these issues, we will think about why do we need traveling? Because we want to learn some cultures and get some real experience. So online tours actually provide us with an opportunity to go to different places virtually without going out. Especially under pandemic, it is a really low risk method to travel and learn new culture. But culture is not so simple. Culture is about cuisine, clothing, history, and even language. So there's also some limitations for online traveling. For example, if you cannot go to the Great Walls, you cannot climb that wall by yourself, how can you feel that China has a so long history? How can you feel the amazement of the history of China? So that's why there's actually some limitation, but again, it can provide some convenient experience for us. So it's worth trying. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's proceed with Q&A session.
Thank you for your speech about being extraordinary. Who would you say is the most extraordinary person in your life?
Thank you for your question. And as I have said, I read a lot of books, and I would want to share one character and one writer, I think, who is the most extraordinary person. And her name is Helen Keller. So he wrote a book called 3 Days to See. And after I read that book, I realized that she's so wonderful and so tough because she's deaf, she cannot hear, cannot see, and even a simple word like water, it's so simple for us, but she needs to spend a month and a month to learn that simple words. But what she did is she overcome all the difficulties she had. She learned so hard, she paid so many efforts, and finally she got into a really excellent college, which is Harvard. So that's so amazing to me. So her experience also allowed me to think about, okay, when I am facing difficulties, I should learn from her that she overcomes so many hurdles, and so I should do it. And this is what made me become confident and then energetic nowadays.
Thank you.
So if you were to give an online tour of a special place in Hong Kong, which would help other people understand Hong Kong, where would the tour be? What would it include?
Thank you for a question. And I think if I'm going to hold an online tour for Hong Kong, I'll hold it in Shui, because actually Shui has a lot of villages, and that kind of villages can show a lot of unique cultures of Hong Kong, because in the past Hong Kong is a small villages. So actually when others have the opportunities to see how people worship their ancestors, how they group together and discuss different matters of their villages, and also they can enjoy some fireworks there because this is some rural areas. So I believe that if I can take them to Shui, it would be such a wonderful trip for them to learn more about Hong Kong's history and also about the unique cultures of villagers in Hong Kong. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Since I was small, I've always been an ordinary person. Average IQ, average appearance, and average background. Nothing remarkable has ever happened to me. This got me thinking, am I going to give in to reality and live with mediocrity for the rest of my life? Of course, no. But how is this possible? How can I change my ordinary life? What can I do to be extraordinary? Robin Sharma, a Canadian writer, gave me an answer. He said, an extraordinary life is all about daily, continuous improvements in the areas that matter most. The keys to living your life to the fullest are constantly growing, learning, and thriving. The more you improve, the more fruitful, fulfilling, and magnificent your life would be. Indeed, there need not be revolutionary breakthroughs or radical advancements. What you need is to do 1% better every day. Just 1%, but consistently, steadily, and sustainably. In the long run, the 1% improvement acts as compound interest for your life. All the minor and seemingly negligible enhancements would gradually become something significant. So, what if you fail while attempting to improve? A legendary American inventor, Thomas Edison, failed 9,000 times while working to devise a no-fault storage battery. But did he really fail? No. At least from his perspective, he had just found ways that would not work. Many of us often ignore or even repudiate the worth of failure. We think that it does no good but hinders, defeats, and stigmatizes us. But what is an extraordinary life? An extraordinary life is a dish with rich blend of flavors. Every element plays an indispensable role. Success defines us, while failure drives us to reflect. That's why failure is not completely vicious. Instead, failure is a fuel that propels us forward, becoming better and better. Becoming extraordinary is not about having exceptional innate characteristics. Becoming extraordinary is a trophy for people who are continuously ascending. Becoming extraordinary is a choice of your own. It doesn't matter that you were born ordinary. Just be committed to something extraordinary. Thank you.
Thank you. So here's the topic for impromptu speech. The question is number 8. As the idea of using electronic games as an educational tool becomes popular, some teachers and parents are concerned that although innovations such as video, computers, and the internet seem to offer schools improved methods of instructing students, these technologies are all too often distract from proper learning. So what do you think about that?
Imagine that you can only stay at home for all day, you cannot meet your teachers, cannot have classes, can't even submit your homework. Would you still continue to learn? This is exactly what we are now facing under the COVID-19 pandemic. But luckily, there's a trivial solution, which is the use of technology. Some parents may doubt that, whoa, technology is way too distracting for proper learning. But I think that learning, it may be distracting, but at least we're learning from it. Nowadays, we can only stay at home, and the only way we can connect with our teachers and friends is via the internet. The efficiency of learning with internet may be lower, but at least we are learning. Absorbing 1% of knowledge is better than 0, right? And to go further, is technology the culprit? Obviously, no. No matter how addictive technology is, the point is how we utilize it. For example, Instagram. It is designed to be addictive. But whether to download it is completely your own choice. So don't blame technology for all the distractions. It is how we use it. And technology is just our excuse of being lazy and not concentrating on a study. In the end of my speech, I would like to ask all of you a question. Are you learning with technology or being controlled by technology? Thank you.
Thank you. Let's proceed with Q&A session.
Thank you for your speech about compound interest and improvements. If there is one aspect of your life you could choose to invest more time and effort into, what would it be?
If I can choose to invest in one aspect of my life, it would be me. My life is as a whole, and there are not different aspects. Maybe I have studying, I have competitions, I have my family, but all of them are me. They're all connected and cannot be separated. Life is just like a great universe. It is broad, it is boundless, it is brilliant. The point of improving is not to reach or approach the edges of this universe. But what you can see is all the shimmering stars and discover the spectacular galaxies that otherwise cannot be seen. You'll never be able to divide the universe into different parts or different aspects. What you need is to improve as a whole and improve as me. And this is the way I try to spend my time to live an extraordinary life. Live without limits and live without borders. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your speech about technology at school. So using technology and video to teach students is very effective and very cheap. Using teaching videos, the teachers never get tired, the lessons are always perfect. Maybe we don't need real teachers anymore. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I think we still need real teachers. This is because there are different types of learners. There are some people who are really self-disciplined and they can learn all on their own. By watching learning videos and just using online resources, they can learn well and be a good learner. But meanwhile, there are some people that do not get used to learning by themselves, especially the younger ones, like the kindergarteners. They can hardly control themselves into just an online environment. And that's why we still need a teacher. We need someone to guide them face to face and let them concentrate into their work. Teachers are irreplaceable. Thank you.
Life is a currency that a lot of us may not know how to spend. Not only do we often take everything for granted, the repetitiveness of our daily lives also destroys the extra in extraordinary, causing our lives to become mundane and ordinary. The dictionary definition of extraordinary claims going beyond what is usual, regular, or customary. This leads to the misconception that in order to lead an exceptionally extraordinary life, one must go beyond the limits of ordinary. That, however, is not the truth. You see, living life to the fullest is not about being. You see, living life to the fullest is not. I'm so sorry. You see, living life to the fullest is not about taking risks and reaching for the impossible. Instead, it is about focusing on your own intrinsic qualities. Focus on being rather than having. In other words, spend more time on improving yourself rather than being jealous of what other people have. Isn't it more fulfilling to live in the moment than spend copious amounts of time dreaming about the future? Living an extraordinary life is also based on your relationship and ability to connect with others. Learn to be flexible in thought in order to view the world from a wider perspective. Learn to receive gratitude and accept it for what it is in the most ordinary moments. Learn to live genuinely by displaying your true self. And most importantly, be kind to others. Allowing others to experience an extraordinary life through kindness is the most crucial part in living an extraordinary life yourself. Everyone's opinion on what an extraordinary life is inevitably different. Extraordinary cannot be narrowed down to a single profile, as people from all walks of life can lead extraordinary lives. Note that no life is ever perfect, and that perfection consists not in doing extraordinary things, but in doing ordinary things exceptionally well. Life itself might not be perfect, but the glasses we wear to view it is what makes the ordinary incredible. Put on the right pair, and you will realize that life is not ordinary, but extraordinary.
Okay, thank you. So here's the topic for your impromptu speech is question number 4. Priscilla Cichonnet has become something of a celebrity as the oldest primary school student in Kenya. Cichonnet, 98 years old, a midwife, sits in class alongside some of the pupils she helped bring into the world. She comes from a remote village and had always wanted to become a doctor. Though that opportunity never came, she instead used her traditionally learned skills to help mothers deliver their babies safely at home. So do you think age limits should be put on people doing formal education? Why or why not?
So, of course, the easy answer of mine for this question is no. Age should never be a limiting factor. There is a Chinese saying which implies, no matter how old you are, there is still always something for you to learn. However, there is another saying which is, time and tide wait for no men. Interests, passions, and your interest for learning can spark during any stages of your life, no matter how old or how young you are. So, is age really a fair judgment as to whether or not you can continue learning? In response to this question of mine, I believe that instead of age, what constitutes to a proper judgment should be instead health, bodily conditions, and your own interest towards learning that particular topic. To me, it is honestly a pity to stop anyone from pursuing what they want to learn based on something as vague as age. Due to this, I believe that age should never be a limiting factor. To conclude, age shouldn't constitute to being a limiting factor towards any sort of education, because we should never let time have any sort of control over us. Time is created by men, and not the other way around. So why should we let age inhibit our passion to learn? So instead, we should let health, bodily conditions, and other practical reasons, we should consider other practical reasons instead. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's proceed with Q&A session.
Thank you for your speech about being extraordinary. So it's very difficult to be genuine and be kind, especially when other people might not be very genuine and kind to us. Can you give some suggestions on what we can do in that situation?
I think the best situation is to not care about if the other person is genuinely kind or not, because the more important thing is that you know to be kind yourself. I believe that we should never let how other people's behavior affect how we treat others, because I think that the most, like what I've said in my speech, we should always focus on our own intrinsic qualities. So I believe that we should never let other people affect who we really are and who we want to be. So in short, yes, I think that if someone is not genuinely kind to you, you should still try your best to be kind to them, because it is who you want to be yourself, and not because not because you just want to have, because you want to be genuinely kind yourself. Thank you.
You're right, I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your speech about not putting an age limit on education. So in your opinion, what would be a good subject to study after retirement?
Any subject would be a good subject, but personally I feel that philosophy might be actually the best topic, because philosophy is through thinking and it requires no practical skills. So no matter what your body health is, what your body condition is, you will always be able to think of answers to questions around the world. And philosophy is an interesting concept because it includes concepts such as life and death, which is something that people face every single day. So regardless of age, life and death is something that each and every person will face ultimately. So I think it's a very important thing to talk about, and hence, I think philosophy is the best subject to learn.
Thank you.